here in draft, everybody. We're going to start things off with draft here this morning, and what an important draft it is in a truly excellent format. Let's take a look at our feature match area as our feature pod arrives on the scene. These are the top 8 players in the tournament, and now they've got to be in the same draft pod together. Yoshihiko Ikawa, our tournament leader there, sitting down at the head of the table. We do have 2 teammates in this pod as well, Ray Zhang and Jason Yi of Team Sanctum of All. We've got one of the old-time OGs, Kenny Oberg, from top 8ing Pro Tour Berlin back in 2008 in this pod, coming back. Love to see an old-school player making a run here. Let's check out draft pod number 1. You can see the seating arrangement around here. Yoshihiko Ikawa we see at 8-0 next to Muhan Yu and Kevin Anseetel. Jason Yi, I want to call out the cool draft deck they drafted yesterday. It was an archive trap mill deck.
Oh, yeah.
They won only through milling, which is very, very sweet.
Achievement unlocked.
Achievement unlocked for sure. We'll see if they can do something similar today. That's a look at draft pod number 1. What about draft pod number 2, Corey?
Usually as you get later in the pods, 2, 3, 4, they get easier. This is not the case here.
No way.
We got 3 Hall of Famers here. Reed Duke, Shuhei Nakamura, Ben Start, as well as I want to shout out Nicole Tipple in her first Pro Tour. That's a tough first Pro Tour at this pod, that's for sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What about pod 3, Ailey?
Pod 3, we see Seth Manfield, his story of the day yesterday, 0-2 start to 6-2 alongside Willie Adel, also Hall of Famers. So looking forward to seeing how their limited runs go.
What about pod 4 here, Corey?
All right, pod 4, some of these players, 5 wins or lower for all of them. And we have our story of our world champions. We have Yuta Takahashi, as well as John Emmanuel Duprat, and the world's runner-up, Kazuna Kasaka, right next to him.
Wow.
Another nasty pod.
World Championship pod there in pod number 4. Absolutely. Yoshihiko Ikawa, our tournament leader. Let's take a look at his road to the top 8 here. You see there in round number 3, had to play Adam Adelson in draft. And Adam Adelson, if you don't remember, was one of our 6-0 drafters from Chicago. Heard from him on camera just a moment ago. And that's the kind of player you need to get through to make it to 8-0 at the Pro Tour. It is not easy, but Yoshihiko Ikawa has done it. Runner-up at Mythic Championship number 1 in 2019, top 8 at Pro Tour San Diego in 2010. Can he make a 3rd top 8? That journey starts here today. Well, everybody, it's time to saddle up and get ready for draft this morning, and I've got my cowboy hat. I'm ready to go. I brought them for all of my friends here at the Pro Tour. Looking great, Marshall and Monty. Excellent. Really good.
You know, I just want to be like Maria. That's it. My whole life goal is to be like Maria, and today I finally get to get across the finish line. Marshall Zeichler with Monty DeVuti, and of course, it is time for draft here at the Pro Tour. I blame you for this, by the way, Monty. But as we said, we've got Yoshihiko Ikawa sitting in the feature, and he's going to be drafting. We're going to watch every single pick that he makes, looking to capitalize on that magnificent start. I took a look at how he got there. He won a regional championship and said, "I'm back on the PT, baby." And this is how you do it when you come back on the PT.
Yeah, Ikawa definitely has had multiple Pro Tour top 8, started with a top 8 way back in San Diego in 2010, was runner-up to Autumn Burchett and Mythic Championship 1 in Cleveland. So getting another run at it already, some results to his name, but wanting that championship, that victory, that Pro Tour win that really sets you into that next upper echelon of players, who he is teaming with a lot of great Japanese players as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a look and see how this draft goes. This is going to set the stage for a potential run for top 8 for Ikawa here. So this is huge. We know there are knowns, right? Constructed deck. Obviously, things are going well and constructed for Ikawa. But now, this is the last unknown for Ikawa, which is the booster draft section here on day number 2. And we are going to find out right now exactly how that goes. Let's see how this first pack goes as they lay out their cards. This is a timed draft.
Okay. Pick up the pack. You have 40 seconds.
And so they'll be under certain time restrictions, as you can hear. Okay, let's see what Ikawa has pulled to the front. Free Strider Lookout looks to be a rare in the pack.
Yeah, I saw Buried in the Garden as the breaking news card.
Oh, man.
One of the very powerful uncommons in the format, but being 2 colors, even if they are the 2 best colors, they are also the 2 most contested colors, so perhaps not something you want to commit to immediately in taking it, despite it being splashable and a good part of the multicolor deck. So the Lookout, very powerful rare, but it is one of the weaker relative green rares. It's just good. It's not
Draft.
incredible. It's not a
Lay
bomb.
out the pack
Especially
to your
compared to
left.
the
You
other
should
green
have
rares, which
13
reach
cards.
into the epic, unbelievable stance. But free try to look out to solid card.
up the pack.
There was also a mystical
have
tether in that
35
pack, so
seconds.
2 good cards with white in them being passed over for Ikawa here. Let's see what pack number 2 brings. There's a fling. Explosive derailment.
Scorching Shot.
A little more committal on the red, but still a very good card.
Yeah, it's double red. A lot of people, yes, it's 5 damage. It is a big chunk of damage, but the double
10
red
seconds.
is scary when many people consider red to be one of the weaker colors
5 seconds.
in the format. So totally understandable why some people may not want to
Draft.
commit to the
Lay
shot,
out the pack to
but
your left.
it
You
is
should
the
have
more
12
powerful of the
cards.
red cards.
Right, very efficient, and removal plays very well in this format. So
Pick up the pack. You
again,
have
a bit
30
committal, but a
seconds.
nice start here for Ikawa. Let's see how the next pick goes. Looks like Giant Beaver, Ride Down. Giant Beaver solid.
Giant Beaver is solid, and notably, I believe it is the only green card
I don't
currently
see any
remaining in the
others.
pack.
Yeah.
So if you cut it, you are at least sending a
10
pretty
seconds.
strong message that, hey, you're not getting any green from this side. Even if you
5
also may not
seconds.
get green from your right, at least maybe in pack 2 you may be able to get some trickle picks.
Draft.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Lay out
you're
the
sending
pack
that
to your left.
message
You should
and
have
maybe
11
receiving
cards.
it at the same time. Let's see how these next few picks go. Green is considered
Pick up
and
the pack.
is
You
the
have
best color in the
25
format. It
seconds.
is also highly contested as a result. You don't expect green to be open at a table like this. Ooh, another explosive derailment there. And there's a voracious varmint in green. So interesting, the derailment, the more powerful option, but as far as cutting green
5
and getting
seconds.
to playables go, it might be the varmint.
Yeah, there is a trained Airings there. I think something that Ikawa can
Draft.
count on
Lay out
is
the pack to your left.
nobody
You
at
should
this
have 10
table is going
cards.
to see a varmint and be like, green's open.
We did
I
it."
got to move in. I'm seeing the
Pick up
green
the pack.
signal. So
You have 25
passing that, not the
seconds.
biggest issue. You can afford to take the more powerful card in the derailment.
There's a tornado. Oh, interesting. So nothing super great in green or red here.
There's a Doc Arlock.
Yes.
High upside uncommon, but one, it's not in the colors that you're in
5
exactly at
seconds.
the moment. It is blue-green. But potentially, if things go in that direction, this card can
Draft.
be
Lay out the pack to your
very,
left.
very
You should
strong.
have
First of
9
all,
cards.
2-3 for 2, if you can land it on Turdu, that is a solid stat size.
Pick up
Definitely.
the pack. You
And
have
that
20
ability
seconds.
can really just make you be able to plot 2, sometimes even 3 cards on the next turn, and that can really get out of hand.
I see Prickly Pear, but there's also a Snakeskin Veil here. Interesting decision point now. I don't think that
5
Ikawa has
seconds.
much going along with Prickly Pear synergies, and Snakeskin Veil is super solid.
Yeah, I love Snakeskin
Draft.
Veil, especially in
Lay out the pack to
red-green.
your left. You should have 8 cards.
Interesting. Prickly Pear is going to be the pick here for Ikawa.
Pick up
Now,
the pack.
I
You
will
have
say,
20
we were
seconds.
talking about Voracious Varmint not being a signal, but seeing a Snakeskin Veil at this point, you are kind of sending a little like, hey, it's not closed off.
Yeah, Snakeskin Veil, one of the higher tier green commons. A lot of
Exactly.
people consider these protection spells very
5
important in this
seconds.
format where removal is so prevalent.
It's going to be Tumbleweed
Draft.
Rising
Lay
now.
out the pack to your left. You should
Again,
have
just sort of-
7 cards.
Just sort of cutting.
And one of the things is this card is among
the
those
pack.
cards that
You
work
have
really
15
well with that
seconds.
Doc Arlock because it's plot 3 with only a single color in it. If you go Arlock and then plot a Tumbleweed Rising plus another larger creature
5
on the next turn,
seconds.
that can really cause for some explosiveness.
Yeah, you're maximizing that as well. Visage Bandit's going to be the
Draft.
pickup here. So,
Lay out the pack to your
Nothing
left.
good
You
in
should
red
have
or
6
green.
cards.
and we are touching blue thanks
up
to
the
the
pack.
dock.
You
So,
have 10
Visage Bandit's
seconds.
decent card.
Another 3-mana plot.
Right.
That's another plot creature. So
And Gin of Fools fall too. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
okay, so maybe some blue-green direction stemming from that
Draft.
Doc Arlock,
Lay out
saying,
the pack to your
I'm
left.
seeing
You should
these
have
plot
5
cards. They
cards.
can really cause for some
Pick
good
up the pack.
curves.
You have 10 seconds.
This is getting interesting. There's a fling left over in this pack. What's the blue card there?
Sees the
Secrets. Yeah.
Season Secret's not great in blue-green.
Draft.
You're typically not committing
the pack
too
to
many
your left.
crimes.
You should
I
have
do
4
like
cards.
keeping this red option available
the
to
pack.
yourself.
You have
Fling
5
really nice in
seconds.
red green. You have large creatures, and you want to have some reach.
And that was a failed forwarding there, so that's a
Draft. Lay
decent
out the
card
pack to
coming
your
back.
left.
I mean,
You
look,
should have 3
blue,
cards.
not really
Pick
where
up
you
the
want to
pack.
be, generally
You have
speaking, in the
5
format, but
seconds.
if it's what's open and you're well supported, you do what you got to do.
Yeah, I think Ikawa is doing a great job of
Draft.
keeping his
Lay
options
out the
open
pack to
here,
your left. You should have
considering
2 cards.
a lot of these late
up the pack.
packs
You
have
have 5
primarily
seconds.
contained blue cards and nothing else.
Harrier Strix is going to be the last pickup here. So interesting. Started off
Draft.
green,
Pass the
dipped into
last
green
card.
red, but blue definitely
have
seemed the
60
most
seconds
open
to
down the
review your
stretch.
picks.
And Ikawa seemed open to it. I think that Doc Orlock is informing many of these picks.
Yeah, I think it's unlikely we are going to see Ikawa end up in blue-red from this position. I think he's going to do everything he can, hoping he's signaled enough in the first pack that he's going to pick up good green in the second pack and compare that with either the red or the blue, depending on what he sees the rares he opens. He's tapping that one a lot. I don't know if it's just for the card reader or whether he's not sure about that pick, because that was an interesting one. We were thinking about it with the Snakeskin Veil.
Yeah. Maybe he's trying to get the text on it to change. If he
Can you protect?
be slightly better.
Can you have plot? Something?
Yeah,
10
these blue
seconds.
cards, Razzle Dazzler and Harrier Strix, aren't really cards that he's going to be interested in. But those mid-range
seconds.
ones, the Jin, the Visage Bandit, those actually do go with
All right,
blue,
please
green,
place
and
the cards back in a
maybe
single
something that
face
he
down
could
pile.
build around. I think this next pack, he's really going to want to try to solidify
pick up the
himself
second
early
pack
if he
and we
can.
pass
You
it to
don't
right,
want
remove
to
the wrapper
flounder
and
around
the
in the
token.
mid-grade here and wait till the
Please
third pack
count
before you
face
really
down in front of you
commit.
that you have
You need to
14
make sure that
cards.
you make playables. This is a Pro Tour draft. It is difficult. People are scrapping it out. Everybody knows what the good cards are, and you don't get a lot of gifts at tables like this.
From how he had things laid
have
out in his
14
hands,
cards?
it looks like he is looking at himself as
Okay,
blue-green
pick
right
up the
now.
pack.
That was the
Bonnie Paul?
direction
You have 40
at the end of the
seconds.
pack.
Oko? Bonnie Paul?
Bonnie Paul? Okay.
Something?
Rocket Center.
Rocket
Ooh, Stingy's back.
Oh, that's the same card we got yesterday.
All right, a little later, but just as strong. That is a pretty solid pick here because
Yeah.
remember, we've
Stinger
mentioned
back
it.
Terror. Go ahead.
Splashable.
Yep.
2 and a red means that even if he does end up in blue-green, it's not really hard as a green player to be able to find a single mountain or red desert and just plot the Stingerback Terror in your already plot deck. So I think
I know.
even if you are blue-green, you have to take the Stingerback Terror, and of
5
course,
seconds.
red-green is still there. You have the tools.
It's really tough because the Raucous Entertainer goes really well in the
Draft.
plot deck as well.
Really
Lay out the
well.
pack to
Right,
your
you can
right.
just
You have
unplot 2 things,
13
activate it
cards.
once. It puts counters on every creature that ETB'd. That prickly pair is actually looking
Pick
a
up the
little
pack.
better
You have
if you were to
35
pick up one of
seconds.
those. But yeah, he is going to go for the Stingerback Terror. You just have to there. Like you said, even if you end up splashing it, it's good. Another
Oh.
explosive derailment back there, and a Nimble Brigand as well.
This feels like a bit of a decision time. Nimble Brigand, if you
Oh,
can
sure.
commit crimes, really solid card that can snowball advantage. So I think Ikawa has to decide now, is this Stingerback Terror drawing me enough back towards red that I'm going to pick this derailment,
5
or am I
seconds.
going to take the more powerful blue uncommon?
A little hint as to how he's
Draft.
approaching it. He pulled that
Lay out the
Voracious
pack to your
Varmint
right.
to the
You should
front.
have
He wasn't going to
12
take it, but
cards.
that's in his mind. He still has not fully solidified. Also, there is the danger that he ends up
Pick
in
up the
just
pack.
straight
You have
blue-red.
30 seconds.
And that is not where you want to be in the format from a macro perspective.
I think there's one person at this table that wants to be blue-red, and that's Javier. The handshake guys told me he's blue-red in over 50% of his drafts.
Okay, well, Javier is a special, unique person that we cannot emulate what he does.
Do not do that at home.
Don't try this at home. There's a Spinewood's Paladin pulled to the front now. Again, this makes me
5
think.
seconds.
Oh yeah, so I think he's leaning back green-red now at this point, Monty.
The good thing about the Paladin is it has plot,
Draft.
so
Lay out
whichever
the pack
deck
to
you
your
end up
right,
in,
you should
this
have
card is
11
great. It has
cards.
over 4 power for the red-green deck. It has plot for the blue-green deck. So this
Pick up
card
the
is
pack.
sort of
You
a
have
perfect
25
pickup as far as just mid-tier commons go.
Geez, here's another one of those picks. Look at this, Raucous Entertainer and Lone Shark. They right next to each other, and they go very well together. But at this point, especially given that last pick, it does look like the Raucous Entertainer is what Ikawa wants, and he once again is further solidifying himself
seconds.
into green and also red.
Yeah, I think right now Ikawa's highest priority should be
Draft.
take the
Lay
green
out the pack
cards
to your
because
right.
this
You
is
should
the
have
position you
10
set up
cards.
for yourself in the first pack. Is this pack you'll get hooked up on green,
Pick up the pack.
and
You have
the more green
25
cards you can take,
seconds.
the longer you can delay the decision of what your second color has to be. Another
Wow.
entertainer, great.
Geez, this is a
More
third
green.
one. This pack that he's had access to, he would have had to make a very tough decision on the first pick, but these last two, no problem. So he's got 2 Raucous Entertainers to go with a pretty decent number of not just
5
normal
seconds.
curve-out style creatures, but also plot creatures.
Yeah. Notably, these packs don't have that many green cards in them,
Draft.
so it's very
Lay out
much
the pack to
possible
your
that
right.
there is a
You should
better
have
green card
9
getting taken out of
cards.
every pack to his left. But he is at least getting fed some green,
Pick up the
which
pack.
means that he
You
is
have
getting
20
somewhat paid off
seconds.
for that pack 1 decision.
There's Oasis Gardener, another Visage Bandit. I suppose this will tell us if he's even in the mode of thinking I'm still going to be touching blue here, because
5 seconds.
If he's playing blue, he's taking the bandit. It's great in that deck.
and he's not going to.
Yeah.
So
I think he's
Draft.
red-green at most,
Lay out the pack to your right.
splashing
You should
blue
have
and thinking,
8
okay, this
cards.
gardener will help me if I want to splash something. You
Pick up the
really
pack.
don't want to play
You
it if
have
you can help
20
it.
seconds.
Ikawa, we're picking up what you're putting down, my friend. Ooh, rule. Rise of the Varmints. Wow. If well supported, that card can do some pretty decent work.
Raucous Entertainer is massive
Oh.
support for Rise of the Varmints. If
Well,
5
payoff,
seconds.
right?
Payoff.
Yeah, it
It-
works really well with it, but you don't want to just have your creatures die
Draft.
and then play
Lay
a
out the
Rise of the
pack to your
Varmints. Like
right.
you really do want
You
a
should
little
have
something
7
extra going on
cards.
with getting cards in the yard. But you're right. I mean, even
Pick
just
up
for
the pack.
3
You
with
have
an
15
entertainer, or
seconds.
God forbid, 2 of them,
Oof.
then you've got a full board state. Dance of the Tumbleweeds, only green card. Red cards,
5
no, he doesn't want a Ferocification.
Yeah, I think he does want to take the dance. It's not exactly the fit
Draft.
for his
Lay out
current
the
deck.
pack to
It
your
does
right.
keep
You should
splashing
have
open.
6
So if he
cards.
opens a powerful card in the third pack, he can
Pick up the
consider
pack.
it.
You have
Doesn't
10
have any
seconds.
deserts to get right now, so it's not helping on that front, but it's still okay.
It's still okay, totally. Map the Frontier, again, similar argument there. He's just not really well set up for
Draft.
it. A second
Lay out the
Tumbleweed
pack to
Rising,
your right. You should have
sure.
5
Yeah.
cards.
It works.
It's another plot card.
Pick up the pack.
There's no
You
way
have
he
10
splashes
seconds.
the dock, right?
I don't think so. I think the power of the dock really hits on turn 2, and each turn past that you can't play it, it's very
Draft.
much
Lay out the
diminishing
pack to your right.
in
You should
power
have
at a
4
very
cards.
steep rate.
Agree.
Pick up the pack.
Okay, he's going
You
to pick
have
up a
5
Forsaken
seconds.
Miner. Wow, Phantom Interference still in the pack.
That's very late. That is
Yeah.
a very solid blue column.
Draft.
Yes, you heard
Lay out the
Marcio.
pack to your
Blue
right.
not
You should
that
have 3
good,
cards.
Right.
but this is one of their better
Pick up the
comments.
pack.
It
You have
is.
5 seconds.
And he could take an Overzealous Muscle or a Harrier Strix here.
Draft.
We saw Overzealous
Pass the
Muscle
last
do
2
some work
cards.
yesterday in the feature match area, though.
Pick up the pack.
I don't think
You
that
have
Ikawa
5
was
seconds.
interested at this time. Okay, so this was another reasonable pack here. You know, he's kind of
Draft.
cruising right through the
Pass the
middle of
last
this
card.
draft, right?
Yeah.
It hasn't been
You now have
anything
90 seconds to
jumping
review
off
your
the
picks.
table for him, but at the same time, he did accomplish the goal that we set out for him, which is to solidify himself in 2 colors, his primary 2 colors, and so far he's done that in pack 2.
Yeah, the good thing about this pack was he picked up primarily green cards. So he still has 2 routes available to him, and he picked up a bomb in the Stingerback Terror. The bomb is splashable. Even the way he's laying it out right now, Ikawa might be considering that I am blue-green, splashing this Terror and maybe some removal. He has that Dance of the
Interesting.
Tumbleweeds.
You're right.
He might not be seeing himself as red-green just because he has the Stingerback Terror. It looks like his layout is, I have this Deputy to help me splash. I have this Dance of the Tumbleweeds. I can splash red for removal in this bomb and be blue-green base to use my Doc Arlock with all of these plot cards, of which he has quite a few.
No, you're right.
To
And
really be explosive.
he's got double Raucous Entertainer plus the Doc Orlock. On turn 2, you can set up for, future plot turns really well with this deck. Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's really going to come down to this pack, and
Bonnie Paul, Bonnie Paul, Bonnie Paul. Oko?
that would be the dreams. The dreams. I think something that Ikawa has really set himself up for is he's not expecting to see green this pack. That's what pack 1 told him. So now he's like, okay, I have
5
the green
seconds.
base. Right now I'm leaning green-blue, but whichever of the 2 colors can come to
Please place
me
the cards in a
more in
single
pack 3,
face-down pile in front of
that's
you
the
again.
deck I ultimately end up in.
Okay, well, let's see what happens here. As you noted,
Okay.
take a look at
Please
pack 2.
open the
They're almost
wrapper,
all
pick up the
green
last
there
pack,
for him.
remove the token.
And again, we're
Count
not
out
expecting to
14
see that
cards
much
face
green
down in
coming
front of
through
you.
in pack number 3. And that will put pressure on Ikawa to really sort out that second color.
This pod really is so stacked.
It is very competitive pod. Yeah, it's interesting because if you've never watched a PT, you know, pod 1, that would be yesterday,
Everyone good?
are random.
Okay,
But
pick
here,
up the
this is
pack.
the top
You have 40 seconds.
records in the field. Okay, Free Strider Commando. Let's hope that's not what the pick ends up being.
Cruel
Cruel
ultimatum.
Ultimatum. A little late for that one. That is what I would want to open early and then try to go for, but not here. Oh, Stubborn Burrow Fiend's interesting. Rise of the Varmints.
Yeah, one of the top green uncommons already. It can grow very large, but it's also that effect that you were looking for. It's self-mill at sort of a free cost, more or less. You don't have to work for it to fuel your Rise of the Varmints. So this Burrow Fiend can do quite a
5
bit of
seconds.
work. And again, you really want to take the
Draft.
powerful green
Lay out the
cards
pack to
early
your left.
because you're
You
not
should
going
have
to see more of
13
them. You're not going to
cards.
wheel something. This is the color you know for sure you're in. Stick to the green as much as you can.
Pick up the pack. You have 35 seconds.
Ooh.
Okay, there's Jolene. But again, it does feel... Oh, and a Cactarantula too. No deserts just yet, though, for Ikawa.
Jolene is a really nice payoff for being red green.
Are we leaning back over towards red?
I don't think he sees himself as red-green right now.
No, I don't think so either, and he's pulled Cactarantula to the front. This is a decision point.
5
This
seconds.
is what we call an inflection point of where do you want to go. And yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. He sees himself as blue-green.
Draft.
So
Lay out the pack to your left.
if that's
you
the
should have
case,
12
then
cards.
a Cactarantula plus just any random desert, especially
one.
like green-red, would be a
He
nice
needs
one.
One. Green-red would be perfect.
Pick up the pack.
He
You
has
have
ways
30
to tutor it.
seconds.
He just needs one desert, like a Mirage Mesa.
Yeah, that would be fine. Eroded Canyon also good here.
Yep.
Oh, but there's a Cactus Folk sure shot. Did you see him turn his head to the side when he saw that?
Yeah. Look, Jolene is good, but Cactus Folk Sure Shot, this is the red-green uncommon.
Hello. This is like
This
red
is,
green's here.
This is the
Do you want to
payoff.
let them in?
As far as non-rares
5
go,
seconds.
this is the payoffs. This card is so aggressively statted. Reach,
Draft.
Ward
Lay out
2.
the
And
pack
look
to
at
your left. You
this.
should have
He's
11
going to
cards.
take it.
I don't think you can resist this. Whether you're splashing it or whether you are pivoting, you
Pick up
have
the
to
pack.
take this
You
signal.
have 25 seconds.
Oh, this is getting really interesting now.
Ooh, all right.
Bonded Outcaster at the back there.
Yeah, Beastbond Outcaster.
Yeah.
This card is excellent in general. The plot 2 cost
Wow.
is very cheap.
Wow.
It can be a 2-mana 3/3, but if you draw a card off of it, well, that's just ridiculous.
That's funny. It was at the
5
very,
seconds.
very end of the pack, and it's like perfect. It'll go in no matter what build he
Yeah.
has. He'll be very happy to have a Beastbond
Draft.
Outcast.
No,
Lay
that's
out the pack
excellent.
to your left. You should have 10
This pack
cards.
is off to an really good start for Ikawa.
He
Pick up
wishes
the pack.
he took that
You have
Jolene.
25 seconds.
Oh, there's another Jolene. I guess he
Not
doesn't
anymore.
have to worry
I mean,
about it.
I still
Oh.
think he wishes he took it, but
Uh-huh.
I think as far as things go,
And then there's a make your own luck too. So this once again is this is
the
fork in
next
the road.
inflection point.
Yeah, and
I think-
it's got to be Jolene. at
This time it's Jolene.
Yeah.
I do not think once you've taken that sure
5
shot,
seconds.
you can afford to ignore the fact that red-green is being thrown in your face right,
Right,
now.
absolutely. This is
Draft.
Ikawa
Lay out the
once
pack to your
again,
left. You should
you know,
have
kind of
9
going with the
cards.
flow of the draft, right?
And he set up for this. He really did. He took as many green
Pick up
cards
the
as he
pack.
could
You have
while being
20
non-committal in
seconds.
the other 2 colors to allow himself this liberty.
That's a hypothesis right there, by the way.
All right, now this is an interesting decision point for me because if he takes this Hypothesizzle, he's saying that I'm open to
5
splashing.
seconds.
Yes.
If he takes this Pulverizer, he's saying I am red-green and I want creatures with more than 4 power to
Draft.
make my deck
Lay out the pack to
consistent
your
and
left.
powerful.
I
You
love
should
that
have
pick
8
there from
cards.
Ikawa. Goes with the Pulverizer. That's a disciplined pick. You
Pick
know,
up the pack.
honestly, the
You
fixing
have
isn't
20
amazing,
seconds.
so I think it's better to just go for the straightforward pick there.
A second
With the
nuke, by the
Joe,
way. We
yeah.
talked about that card a lot yesterday. That's going around, so some blue spell player is going to enjoy that one.
5
Mind
seconds.
Raider and Dance of the Tumbleweeds, but this just doesn't seem like the expensive, splashy,
Draft.
go big
Lay out
deck.
the pack to your left.
That
You should
said,
have
Dance of
7
Tumbleweeds
cards.
#2, sure.
Yeah, I think Mind Raider not really doing
Pick
much.
up the
You have
pack.
very
You have
few
15
outlaws in this
seconds.
red-green deck.
Right.
So I think just keeping the
Ooh.
option available for a splash off a desert.
There's a Tornado.
I love picking up mid-late tornadoes.
5
it has that
seconds.
cycling, it's never really dead. And flyers are a problem in this format, so having an answer,
Draft. Lay out
really
the pack
nice.
to your left. You should have 6
Today's
cards.
forecast, thorny.
Pick up the pack. You have 10
High
seconds.
chance of tumbleweeds.
Indeed. You know, honestly, even a Free Strider Commando this late is pretty decent.
Really happy with this as a late
Yeah.
pickup.
Draft.
You know,
Lay out
you're
the
looking
pack
for
to your
creatures
left.
with
You
more
should
than
have
4
5
power. Well,
cards.
if you plot this, it has more than 4 power.
up the
So
pack. You have
it does
10
fit the
seconds.
theme of your deck and is good on the curve.
And I just keep thinking of those 2 Raucous Entertainers and all the plot.
Yeah.
Like, this could be one of those decks where
Draft.
it's kind of doing a lot of
Pass the
setup
last
and
4
just making sure it
cards.
doesn't die, and then all of a sudden it has 12
Pick up
power
the
on the
pack.
battlefield.
You
And
have
you're like, what the
5
heck happened?
seconds.
This deck works. It really does. I'm not saying it's exciting. It's I would say it is
Draft. Lay out
good,
the pack to your left. You
but
should have 3 cards.
most importantly, it works.
Pick up
It
the
has a
pack.
very
You have 5
clear
seconds.
goal. That's a
Ooh.
nice pickup.
Late Ankle Biter.
Yeah, really, really nice pickup. It's
Draft.
a
Wheeled it.
cheap
Pass the
play,
last 2
considering your deck
cards.
can
Pick
be a
up the
bit
pack.
more
You have
expensive
5
than you would
seconds.
like here in red-green. So, perfectly fine.
Yeah, Ankle Biter does a good job of kind of holding the fort
Draft.
while you're
Pass
waiting
the
for your
last
plot
card.
cards to do their thing.
Yeah.
Okay. We are done.
Hey, this was very well maneuvered by Ikawa. This was not an easy seed. I think that we had a situation where he kind of made up his mind and then changed it and then rechanged it again.
Yeah.
And that can be very difficult because at some point, I don't know, there's a human element where you just say, you know what, I'm just going to go with this. And, you know, hopefully it works out. But
Yeah.
Ikawa kept his mind open all the way through that entire draft.
Yeah, and I think that is something that you have to be able to do at the professional level is adaptability. You can't be married to your first pick or your second pick. You have to have the ability to read the signals at the table. And one of the big things in drafting is creating a game plan. And I think Ikawa had a very clear vision for how this draft could go, which is I'm going to leave the option. Do you
Is this
respect-
barely hanging on?
Do you respect my expertise more or less with the hat on? Just wondering.
It is a little hard.
Just wondering.
It is a little harder to take you
seriously?
seriously.
No,
Yeah.
no, let me go back to making some
It
points.
looks good on you, but it's just hard to, you know.
I think Ikawa drafted that really well. I think his seat had a lot of direction points, and he left himself available to best capitalize on it.
Let's take a look at the list and see how it ended up. We're assuming red-green, but you never know. There was at least a little bit of room for splashing there.
Yeah, he really wishes he had a desert. That would be great to go fetch. It could allow a splash better if it was an on-color, double-color desert, and it would make the Cactarantula a bit cheaper. That one is a bit awkward. But overall, I think that he is a very straightforward 2-color deck in this spot.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what the list looks like. For the most part, yeah,
Yeah,
straight up.
straightforward,
And he's
9/8
running
mana
the
base.
Cactarantula raw, no deserts.
Yeah, 6-power creature.
Yeah,
good.
it's still good.
Ability, good. Give it haste and trample, really good.
And both Dance of the Tumbleweeds are here, so there is still some ramp.
Yeah, and I think he is planning on using that more as a 6-mana card. I think he is planning on using those to make more large creatures to go with the rest of this deck. He'll ramp when he needs to, but his curve earlier is pretty filled out. He would much rather be deploying a creature or plotting a creature on turn 3 than ramping.
You know, I think that for Ikawa's seat, this is definitely what you should be doing, as it were. Also, I'm really curious to see how many games end with a fling that you see down there, as this deck can put out some very, very large creatures. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, though, we'll be gearing up for the first round where we get to see this deck in action. Don't go anywhere.